Hold on. You're probably wondering how I beat Ludwig at his own gaming challenge in one stream. Let me explain. But before we start, this video is an extension to re-challenge Ludwig at his own challenge. Considering he has the worst time recorded on the own challenge that he created, embarrassing, I know, I'm giving him the opportunity to come and beat my time at his own challenge, the God Gamer Gauntlet. So Ludwig, if you're watching this, I extend this challenge to you. I hope you accept. Speaking of that time, the God Gamer Gauntlet, and what the hell were you even doing here? Shut up, hold on, I know. Let me explain. This is how I beat Ludwig at his own gaming challenge in one stream. On the coattails of beating every single Five Nights at Freddy's game on the hardest difficulty on one stream, by the way, that video is out right now, go check it out if you haven't already, I needed a new gaming challenge to test myself, to put my 50-20 mechanics to the test, my gaming metal, my demonic APM, all these things needed to be pushed to their absolute limit. And luckily for me, I stumbled upon a video by the one and only Ludwig, titled, "Can I Beat the Hardest Games of All Time in Under 30 Minutes?" In this video, Ludwig creates what's known as the God Gamer Gauntlet. This is a speed run where you play Pogostuck consecutive with Getting Over It and Jump King. His goal was to beat these in under 30 minutes, and he did so in 34 minutes and 21 seconds. Good job, Ludwig. I like the cut of his jib, so I was in. As he would say, the plan is simple. Beat Pogostuck, Jump King, and Getting Over It in less than 34 minutes and 21 seconds. I could do that. That sounds pretty easy. Except I've never played any of the games before. I was gonna do it all in one stream, and I had to learn how to speedrun them. Yeah. We have 3 games that we need to learn how to play, being Pogostuck, Getting Over It, and Jump King. Once we have learned how to play all these 3 games to a high level, we need to take all our skills and mesh them together. And we need to be able to beat the game, collectively, all 3 of them, consecutively, in less than 34 minutes and 21 seconds. This is following us beating every single Five Nights at Freddy's game on the hardest difficulty in one stream. That took us 8 days. This will not take us 8 days. This will take us much more than 8 days. The reason for this is because for the Five Nights at Freddy's stream, I had to master the mechanics, right? This generally took me about a day, but I only had to beat the hard mode once. For this challenge, I need to master the mechanics, be able to beat all of them independently, and then I need to be able to combine it and have a perfect speed run where I get a best run in all of them consecutively. So let's say I get a really good run in Pogostuck, but I get a bad Getting Over It, then I have to reset, right? And I get to keep doing runs, so there's nothing wrong with that, but I just need to have next level mechanics consecutively. Here's my general assessment. Here's my general assessment of what a timeline would look like. I think it's gonna take us about a week to get good enough at all the games where I'm one-tapping them, right? Where like I could open the game and beat it on my first try. After that week, we start runs. Runs could take way quicker than I expect. Runs could take a lot longer than I expect. I have absolutely no idea how that's gonna work. So like it could take me 3 days and I get a run that beats it. It could take me 2 weeks to get a run that beats it. That's my general mental assessment. It could be harder, it could be easier. We don't know. My expectation is it's going to be significantly harder than FNAF. So yeah, that's the plan. The plan is to beat Pogostuck, Getting Over It, and Jump King in sub 34:21, and yeah. That's it. If I haven't lost you yet, then join me on the journey of how I beat Ludwig at his own gaming challenge in one stream. Pogostuck! Arguably my second favorite aesthetics out of all the games, and quite a simple game to be honest with you. The objective is to get from the beginning of the game to the end of the game by going through a bunch of obstacles and areas that have a bunch of different tricks and mechanics that you have to learn through them. Sounds simple, right? Again, because it's not. There's a whole lot of gimmicks, a whole lot of mechanics, a whole lot of tech we gotta learn, and a whole lot of falling we have to do. So, if you'll excuse me, let's try to get into some of that. Okay, it's not about beating it fast, chat, it's about improving my mechanics. It's gonna take a lot of practice for me to be good enough at the game. Beating the game was simply not enough for this challenge, so the speed at which I beat it for the first time was completely irrelevant. It could take me 1, 2, hopefully only 3 days, and there'd be nothing wrong with that. So what matters is being good enough at the game to beat it fast and to beat it consistent. So for now, we start at the beginning. The introduction to Pogostuck is honestly really refreshing, especially after returning to it after speedrunning. The aesthetic is appealing, and a lot of the mechanics that you practice in the beginning of the game are easier renditions of harder mechanics that you'll need to be able to do at later parts of the game. Everything will be okay until then. Allegedly. So for now, let's just appreciate all the great progress I made and beat the introduction. my god. Let's go. Awesome job. Unfortunately, this is about as easy as the game gets. You can't really fall anywhere, and you're more so just learning the very basic mechanics and getting accustomed, sort of getting your feet wet with all the stuff that you're going to need to be able to do for the next section. Speaking of the next section, let's use these newfound mechanics to attempt the next part of the game. Weird question for you guys. What's your guys' favorite fruit? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. A couple apples, a couple oranges in there, yeah. Oh, watermelon as well. Nice, okay. How about grapes? No. Not the game, it's just this one section. Please just don't. Like, what am I doing, man? I'm so dumb. Oh my god, I'm so dumb. God, why? I enjoy many things in this life and often have them taken away from me by association with bad experience. For example, when I was 9 years old, I loved blue cheese, and one night my parents asked me to watch Harry Potter with them, and we were gonna get barbecue so I could enjoy my precious blue cheese. Food came in, me enjoying my beautiful wings and blue cheese while watching Harry Potter, until, unfortunately, a deathly ill type of sickness struck me and forced me to the bathroom to throw up all of the great blue cheese that I had just eaten. This disgusting sickness that I associate with blue cheese and now Harry Potter makes it so that I not only can't enjoy blue cheese anymore, I also can't enjoy Harry Potter anymore. They make me sick. I will never enjoy anything involving grapes ever again. Grapes is not a particularly hard section when you're skilled. In fact, most runs that get to grapes will usually get past them because of how easy it is to beat them consistently in runs. But this isn't the case for when you beat it for your first time or for new players in general. A lot of it's very unintuitive, there's a lot of punishing mechanics, and there's a lot of things that grapes teaches you that are important for the rest of the game. This is where I can be positive about grapes for a little bit. So let's do that before I continue to absolutely rail into this section. I love to use MS Paint to theorize about certain strategies that I want to use in a game, like during the FNAF video. However, a lot of the MS Paint work that I did for this game ended up being things that were either entirely wrong about the game or stuff that was only semi-right. So let's put on our Pogostuck caps, do a little bit of retconning to our theory, and allow Professor Salmon to teach you some mechanics about Pogostuck. Introduction to important techniques in Pogostuck. Angles are very important in Pogostuck. They dictate the direction you go off your bounce, but they can also do a lot more. For instance, on sharper edges, like many of the grapes, if you turn in too deep, you can doink your character on the edge and fall. Alternatively, the angles that are produced by sharp edges can make jumps deceptive and make you end up jumping off at an angle that otherwise you wouldn't think you would have went off at. This makes anticipating your angle as you're in midair a very useful tool, because rather than thinking about changing your angle when you land, you can always be thinking about the next angle you will have on your pogo based on your next jump. Make sense? Good. Let's keep moving. There's an additional useful technique in this game that I've coined a smart fall, which will drastically increase your likelihood of saving runs while playing the game. In Pogostuck, when you fall from a certain height, your pogo retains the momentum that you have from falling, making your next jump go exponentially higher. Games like Pogostuck have mechanics that are intentionally made to be rage-inducing, hence the full title of the game. But it's essential to not rage after falling immediately, because this is the most important time to do a recovery jump, or a smart fall. Your very next jump can easily save your run and or save you a lot of time if it's your first time playing. When you fall from a far height, determining the angle you need to use as you fall to return to where you were, as well as land safely to keep moving, is essential. The strategy can save you a lot of time, but is significantly harder to execute the more tilted you become, and because of how much patience and skill this mechanic takes in general. Okay, we good? We good? Yes? Good? I'm going back to being negative. Grapes. This section is just so agonizing by nature. It's like meant to be all fun and colorful with the grapes and the vines and vibrance and fun and yay, explosions, woo! And it just makes me resent it even more. But by far the worst part is that progress in Pogostuck isn't linear, so every time you fall back to grapes, everyone in chat just comes in and is like, oh, you're still in grapes again? Yeah, I'm still in grapes. The progress of the game isn't linear, so sometimes it's just gonna end up in breaks. I'm not good enough to get all through grapes intentionally every single time. Speaking of progress not being linear, Pogostuck has a leveling up mechanic. Wow, that's super cool. Let's hear the sound the game makes when you level up. Okay, let's listen to that one more time. Again. 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 Were they? Did not need to know that I leveled up again. Another level up. Another level up. I can't believe I heard the level up sound again in Grapes. Honestly, if I have to experience the torment, you guys have to as well. But that's all I have to say about Grapes. I'll spare your ears. I could rage about this section for hours, but whatever. I hope I never have to play it again. Unless Ludwig beats my time, in which case I'm coming back. But for now, let's just appreciate me beating Grapes for the first time. Yippee! Oh my god! I could cry. Okay, wait, can we pause? Yes! Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. However, there was still time left in the day, so there's still progress to be made. Let's get acquainted with Tree. Tree's kind of a noob trappy part of the game. There's almost no risk to all the jumps at the beginning, and they're very different from Grapes in the nature of the angles that you have to take, and some of the sharpness of the edges of the tree branches and all this kind of stuff. And then on top of this, they add a mushroom mechanic to get to the final part of Tree, which is a whole gimmick you kind of have to learn and feel out. We'll get into the mechanics of mushrooms later, but for now, just know that it's like a very gimmicky, kind of like weird, bouncy, like object in the game. However, the end of Tree involves multiple mushrooms, which makes an extremely frustrating mechanic that you have to learn because of how hard the gimmick is to sort of process and practice as a new player. And this would be fine if every time you messed up this end part of the game, you would just go back down to Tree. Well, that's not the case. You fall to Grapes. Like that, before I can go. No. Grapes. Yes! Oh my god! Yes! Oh my god, I'm out of Grapes. Please, 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 please! I just don't get it! Like, well, I don't understand. That was clean though. That was clean though. That was clean though. Hey, that was clean as shit. This was kind of my trauma cycle for the rest of the day. Fall back to Grapes, return to Tree. Fall back to Grapes, return to Tree. Fall back to Grapes, return to Tree. You get the idea. Something that's important to note is that the longer that I play these games on stream, because the stream never ends, I eventually start experiencing diminishing returns on my practice, where multiple hours passed when I'm annoyed or frustrated or don't want to play anymore just end up either making me revert in progress or make no progress at all, both mechanically, but also physically and mentally. So, let's pack it in for the day. Made a lot of progress for that first day, and hopefully we'll make a lot of progress on day number 2. Spoiler alert, I made no progress today. Or so you may think. It's important to remember that progress is not linear. Instead, I'm going to play all of day 2 right here while I discuss some things to you about the challenge. I'm going to try and talk about everything I want to say about this challenge in under 5 minutes because that's how long all of day 2 is, sped up by 10,000%. This footage is quite literally me falling from Tree to Grapes to back to Tree to go to Grapes to Tree to Grapes to Tree to Grapes to Tree to Grapes, and a little bit of pineapples in there, which we'll get, okay? Don't get upset. Pogostuck is unique in that what makes the game inherently hard doesn't really have to do with a lot of the areas. It's more about the mechanics themselves. Granted, there are some specific jumps that are quite hard, something like rocks or maybe the end of flowers, but ultimately, what makes this game hard are the fundamentals. And a lot of those mechanics come down to pogo control. What this means is your ability to actively alter the path that your pogo takes by resetting the mechanic or changing your angle without even having to think about it. This comes by way of knowing how jumps are supposed to look and feel like, because the consistency at which you take jumps is going to be different in almost every run just by virtue of the way that Pogostuck plays. It's not like getting over to Jump King, where the runs have increasing levels of consistency, Jump King being almost having identical jumps every single time, and getting over it having very similar ones. This is a mechanic because in Pogostuck you can never stop moving. The pogo keeps going. So you need to be able to adjust because you're always moving and turn always moving into your adjustments. Making micro adjustments without stressing takes a lot of practice, and it's honestly really hard. It's a mix of being able to do mini taps on the pogo to reset your jump and not over spinning on every single jump and always doing a boosted jump, and being able to take different walls and angles to soft reset your position if you end up taking a jump too far, or know how to reset the way that you're gonna land. As you can imagine, these things take a lot of practice, and so that's what a lot of this day was, just practicing those mechanics. I'm not bad. I'm not bad. I swear, I'm not bad. I'm not bad. This day was simply crippling to my self-confidence, not just because of all of the failing, but also because of the cognitive dissonance that I was getting as a result of the game. There's this unique phenomenon known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, where individuals who are least competent in a certain area feel the most confident and overestimate their skills the most in doing that thing. I was specifically experiencing this in Tree because after getting to the end of Tree a couple times, I felt in my brain that I was good enough to get to Tree and that I should be doing it on every single run I do, when in reality, that's not really how progress works, and a lot of those runs just end up being good chance. Pogostuck takes a lot of practice, and I needed to understand that. And so, that's what this day was. Didn't mean to get so serious on you guys. Alright, shut up. Let's get back to the fun stuff. Damn. A return to my bed for another slumber would bring us to day 3, which would come with a lot more progress. There are a couple reasons I think I didn't make progress on day 2. A lot of it has to do with the game being hard and needing mechanics, maybe bad sleep, maybe just a bad attitude. But at the start of day 3, I was feeling physically ill for some reason. And then I realized something. Hold with me for a second. Dude, I think my light is f***ing with me. Get out of DoorDash on my phone. What happened to your phone? This is the light that I was using for my stream. This is not a stream content light. This is just an industrial lamp blaring on my face behind the monitor for 2 whole days. Who would have thought that would make me feel physically ill? Oh well, it's gone now, and we fixed it. I can only compare the physical relief I felt in that moment to when you hit that first stretch in the morning and you're all like, to say the least, I was re-energized, refocused, and ready to realign myself, and from going to feeling like I was gonna have to quit the challenge, to now being in my full demon mode ready to tackle the day. Speaking of getting serious, day 3 started off with a bang as we would get through Tree and Pineapple and finally progress to the next section of the game. Oh my god. 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 Let's go! Huge, massive, hyper, ultra, demon, gamer, god, it's me. This is really good. Particularly because this section, known as Palm Tree, you cannot fall from it. Therefore, it takes a lot of stress off of your shoulders when you get to this area because there's no falling. You can spend a lot of time learning, and there's a lot of good practice to be made in terms of your mechanics from this area without being punished every time you mess up. A lot of my commentary on Palm Tree doesn't really come from my first playthrough of the game, but rather from after the speedruns because it teaches you a very important mechanic from the game and ultimately is kind of redundant in terms of the first time that you play the game. Hooking is when you use your pogo as an anchor to grab onto a surface and pull yourself up rather than landing on the surface normally. Hooking is very important for this section, particularly for speedrunning, because the nature of the palm tree edges makes them hard to land on normally. So instead, using them as an anchor will create greater consistency in getting yourself to the top of palm tree fast by making every platform a jump in itself. This technique is very versatile because there's a lot of sections where hooking the pogo is useful, like pineapples, and in general, saving bad jumps and runs. Besides this, my other main takeaway from this area is that it's really harsh on the eyes because of like the visual effect that the edges of the palm trees create when you just look at your character. It's kind of disturbing and off-putting. It almost feels like when you look inside of one of those kaleidoscope toys where all the parts of the map start to move inward, and it's super odd visual sensation, and it really messed me up for the first couple times, but I kind of got over it. Fix this, I kind of just started looking at the palm tree edge that I was aiming for or thought I was going to end up on rather than looking at my character directly, and it kind of made this effect go away. Besides that, that's all I really have to say about palm tree. The end jump is pretty difficult, honestly, for your first time, but it's really easy when you do it over and over again. Just because the nature of how sharp the angle is, you're kind of taught throughout the early parts of the game not to take like super sharp and deep angles off of objects, and so it's a little counterintuitive at first, but eventually I found my way. We finally made it to mushrooms. Yes! Oh my god. Ladybug theory. Hooray! Mushrooms! What's new? Well, this is actually a perfect time to track back to on day 1 when I said we weren't going to talk about the mechanics of mushrooms. Let's talk about them right now, because we got bigger ones, better ones, and redder ones. I know, for all of you who don't want to be your academics and your mechanics and your blah blah blah, shut up. Just give me 2 minutes, we'll talk through it, and then we're done here, okay? More Pogostuck theory. Gray and red mushrooms have different level of bounds, but identical physics in terms of your jump placement and angles off of them. For example, if you straight jump with your pogo on the edge of a mushroom, you will bounce left. But if you straight jump with your pogo a little bit to the left of the middle of the mushroom, you will move to the left, but significantly less. As a result, going for jump resets on mushrooms can be quite difficult without practice. This is because the angle that you need to take off jumping on the mushroom and the power you put into it is different based on every single individual place on the mushroom, with different extremities of how far you'll go. This can lead to a lot of fails, particularly in this section as the mushrooms give a much greater boost. This would traditionally be a problem, but luckily in this section, if you fall at the end, you fall right to the end of palm tree. So all you need to do is just land the jump as you fall onto that coconut back to the mushroom. When it's done incorrectly, it looks like this. No! No! And when it's done correctly, it looks like this. Oh, I just turn in too hard and then it's like... Having that angle auto adjust is such a nice quality of life thing though, I'm not gonna lie. If I had to determine that angle every single time, I would be in grapes right now. Speaking of grapes, when you fall on the right side of mushrooms, well, you just end up back at the end of palm tree. But if you fall at the left side of mushrooms, well... As well... Fuck! I knew I was gonna overshoot it. Fuck! All comes back to grapes! Yes, even with all our progress, we were not immune to falling, but it's not about how you fall, it's about how you get back up. As I get back up, it's important to remember, this is not the Salmon Kid of day 1 or even day 2. This was a new and improved Salmon Kid. A power buff Salmon Kid, a sleep buff Salmon Kid, but most importantly, a grapes buff to Salmon Kid. Falling was not as detrimental as I was clearly making progress and I was able to get back up at a much faster speed. That's the end of day 3. Rocks was far too heavy of a task after all that progress, so we packed in our bags, we made a ton of progress, we took our earnings, time to go to sleep, get our sleep buff, and move on to day 4. Day 4 harbors some of our greatest improvements, but also some of our greatest regression. You see, playing Pogostuck for 3 days in a row can eat at your heart, it can seep into your soul and destroy your mind and your body and your heart and everything, but we still have to keep moving forward. There's a lot I want to talk about, so let's get into it. The wall jumps at rocks are not hard once you get consistent, and part of that consistency is getting good at doing flip resets at mushrooms and just getting consistent at that part in general. Couple falls back to the wind area and having to do the end of palm tree again, no biggie, and we kept improving and kept getting better, and eventually way early in the morning, we walked rocks for the first time like a goddamn dog, baby. Oh my god! 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 I had literally lost so much faith in myself as a player. And just, oh my god, oh my god. Dude, I could fall all the way back to grapes. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but oh my god, I improved. Oh my god. No more dingles, no more derps. We're up to the hardest part of the game. Let's zone in, let's focus, let's keep it moving. An important reminder that I'm not just playing this game to beat it for the first time, I'm learning it with the intention of speedrunning it. So while we're playing the game for the first time, it's important to practice mechanics that I'm going to utilize for the speedrun when I actually play. For example, one of these mechanics is the difference between doing anvil jump and doing this jump from lava. Let me explain. Traditionally, the game expects you to boost jump off of anvil, kinda like some of these examples. I like this. I didn't like it. However, there's a more consistent strategy for success where you boost jump off of lava to get this jump, like some of these examples. I did it. I did the new strat. I did the new strat. Okay. I've gotten them. Okay. With a bit of practice, this technique makes getting to flowers a lot more consistent, which is important because in order to practice the mechanics for flowers, you need to be able to get there more frequently. And messing up right before it can waste a lot of time, delineate your brain, yada yada yada. You get it. Speaking of flowers! This is by far and away the most difficult part of Pogostuck. The agonizing and tedious nature of this section creates this crazy stress vortex tsunami unlike anything I've ever seen before. I found myself literally like fully tensing my body and all my muscles contracting multiple times while doing flowers, being short of breath and not even being able to move my body as I go, stun locked in fear every single time I would attempt the hardest parts of flowers. Flowers has a couple of unique jumps, those being mainly the one where you have to jump down to the ledge that's a little bit lower to get back up, and then the second jump, which is the jump at the end with the two very, very small ledges. This sequence is very hard, and it leads to a lot of fails. No! Dude. No! But failing is not always a bad thing. Why is that, you may ask? Well, because it opens the door for fail-safes. That's right. Those of you who have watched the FNAF video, we love fail-safes. So, having an opportunity to learn a failsafe was something that I relished. So let's learn this failsafe. In flowers, if you fall off of that first jump I was telling you earlier to get to that ledge, you fall onto this section of a bunch of really steep, jagged rocks. And in order to attempt to get back up and do this failsafe, you need to do a bunch of boost jumps to the side and then get your pogo on the ledge with a boost or regular jump based on how high you are on like this wall that attaches to the first jump back down to the platform below, and then with that boosted jump, you go up all the way. It utilizes smart falling as a technique in itself because you're intentionally falling, using the pogo as a hook to catch the sort of removed part of flowers in order to get yourself up, and then it also just utilizes straight up failsafe, which is great. See, I told you guys all the techniques we learned earlier are going to be really important. If you love failsafes, awesome, because there's another one we're going to talk about later. But if not, no worries, fine. We'll move on in flowers. The end of flowers has two very difficult jumps on two very tiny ledges that are hard to manage. The reason for this is because you need really good pogo control, not only for your placement, but you can't overturn into this. I explained this earlier in the video, but it's kind of similar to the introduction part with Tree, where when you bounce up, you don't want to spin, but rather you just want to jump up straight and then kind of catch the ledge a little bit with your pogo. If you overturn, you're likely to either fly off the edge by catching one of the ledges at a weird spot, or bonking, or there's just a bunch of ways to fall in this part, like this. No! I trolled. Oh my god, I oh my god. As I previously mentioned, when you fall from flowers, the consequences are dastardly. And oftentimes, when practice doesn't make perfect, you end up like this. God damn it. No! F me, dude! This is just the worst. No! Oh my back. But when practice does make perfect, we make progress. No! Again! I can't. Here we were, the end of Pogostuck at the end of day 4. Could I do it? Could I finally slay the demon, get the monkey off my back, put all of my mechanics to work in one final effort to beat the game? Yep. After all that work on the final jump, I just derped out and failed like a little anxious bitch. But it was fine. The end was near, and a sorrowful and dejected challenger left to go get sleep buff and return for day 5 to finally attempt to beat Pogostuck. Sleep buff is a very real thing, and after falling yesterday, flowers need to be conquered quickly so that we could finally make another attempt at beating the game. And it was. Holy fuck. Shit, wrong clip, wrong clip! Let's go! We were right back to where we were, blast through snow, blast through the walls, and all we had to do was blast through that beautiful bird beak and finally get to the ending of Pogostuck. It's over! We finally beat the game! Yeah, almost. Hold on. See, Pogostuck does this funny thing at the end of the game, which is almost entirely inconsequential for your first run, but is very annoying for speedrunning, which we will touch on later. But for now, let's just talk about the final part of Pogostuck. The great thing is, you can't fall anymore. Once you get to this part, you can 100% beat the game, as there's no consequences to messing up anything. And because there's no consequences, you'd think at this point, I wouldn't be stupid enough to mess anything up, right? I wouldn't somehow hit the egg in the left-hand corner and make it almost entirely to move, right? Right? How do I save this egg? How do I save this egg? How do I fucking move this thing? Jack, can I like reset the game and will the egg reset? Oh my god! I did it! Let's go! The king of fail-safes! The king of fail-safes! Oh my god! Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! Oh my god, I could. Oh my god. The king of fail-safes! But luckily, if I'm the king of anything, it's the goddamn king of fail-safes, baby. There's a fail-safe if you hit the egg in the left corner, or if you get the egg through those little teeth, then it resets and goes back to the beginning. Somehow I was stupid enough to do this not once, but twice, which let's not talk about. Give me a break, alright? I've been playing Pogostuck for 5 goddamn days in a row. But regardless, the end of it all, after tormenting an egg, we finally beat Pogostuck. Oh my god. Oh my god, let's go. We did it! Unfortunately, there would be a lot of Pogostuck left to play, but let's not think about that right now, okay? Let me enjoy my victory. Let's take a little break. Let's eat. Let's be happy with chat. And let's move on to our next game, Getting Over It. Getting over it. Let's get something out of the way real quick. The announcer for this game is intentionally made to be annoying, but it's because it's intentionally made to be annoying that it kind of annoys me even more. I hate the announcer of this game so much. It's just so annoying. Do you guys have that one friend that recommends you like movies or TV shows and they want you to watch it and then they ask to watch it with you and you're watching it and you kind of don't get it, but you're still enjoying it, but they need you to enjoy it the way that you enjoy it, so they explain everything to you and pause it and ask you if you understood it in this way, and then you're like kind of annoyed because you just want to watch the goddamn movie, but they have to make sure that you enjoy it in the way that they enjoy it rather than just letting you enjoy it yourself. It's like that kind of annoying. The allegory of this game is so pretentious and so boxy, and it's really like Diogenes pot. Like the application of this analogy, like pasted on a rage game with a guy in a pot climbing like a bunch of random furniture, it's just really preachy and cringe, and honestly it just grossed me out, so I kind of hate this game. As you can probably imagine, I don't really like this game. The narrative it pushes is super lame, and it's honestly kind of whatever. But don't let that change the fact that the mechanics are actually pretty good. In fact, when you get good at the game, the mechanics become even more fun, something we'll touch on later. But for just the first playthrough, the mechanics are hard, but intuitive in a way, and with enough practice, you kind of get to know them. You also have to remember that after playing 5 days of Pogostuck, it was very refreshing to play a different game. However, the difference between Pogostuck and this game is that you can play Getting Over It at an insufferably slow pace. I mean really, really really slow. Because the mechanics are very counterintuitive the first time you play the game, and you know, you're supposed to think that you're not really supposed to fall, it leads to you just derping around in areas kind of like this. These two things independently on their own aren't that bad, but because the slow mechanics, or rather the difficult mechanics, promote slow play, it just makes the game so tedious. Chat kept flaming me for like grandpa pace, but it's really not fair because I'm just trying to beat the game for the first time, and like I would show you the highlights from the sections, but they're so insanely slow, so we can kind of just touch on things as we go. But I was just playing the game so slow, it just kind of led to stuff like this. I'm like inching my way over. Okay. Dude, I'm so afraid. I know I can't fall, but it's like... No micro adjustments? Is this like the... Okay, let's do a quick run through of some of the more menial parts of getting over it, and then we can get to the stuff that's very difficult. Quick, let's go. The beginning of the game is quite simple. Getting through lights takes some practice, but ultimately it's not hard to get to this first point. Just mainly learning the mechanics, kind of similar to the intro to Pogostuck. The building wall helps learn about windmilling the hammer and being patient, but is also kind of tedious for no real reason. It is also way easier once we learn about some of the speedrunning tech, which we'll talk about shortly, and is synonymous with other parts of the game that are very vertical in nature. Slide is a cool section because it helps to teach you about specific hammer placement to build habits, something that is kind of different from Pogostuck because you can build that consistency from where you jump from, but it's actually a waste of time to learn because when we speedrun the game, some of the tech we learn invalidates this section completely, so it just ended up being a waste of time. Stairs is a very crucial section of the run because it's where you learn how complicated the mechanics of the game can be, from holding yourself against the stairs of the hammer to pulling with the hammer, and there are all sorts of important techniques you need for this section. Probably one of the harder sections, but realistically it's not that difficult after a few runs. Everything from stairs through furniture looks really intimidating just because of how vertical it is, but it's honestly the easiest section of the game. What is super annoying about this part is how many different things you can get your hammer caught on. Part of the game has a bunch of soft locks or parts where you can get your hammer stuck and it can't move, among various ledges and hooks that can make you fly backwards, which can be super intimidating as a new player. However, due to the patient nature of the first playthrough, you don't really experience this issue unless you're speedrunning the game, in which case, you know, we'll get to that. I don't know if it's just me, but I really love this section, and visually it's one of the more compelling parts of this game that I don't really have a lot of great things to say about. Everything from oranges, which is this rock wall, after furniture to the top of tower is more important for when we were speedrunning. A few things I will say right now though is that oranges are insanely slippery. The most important thing to do when falling from oranges is nothing. If you overreact or push with your hammer, you will fall all the way back to slide. As for tower, it's very similar to the vertical wall from earlier. The biggest difference being that the thumb is a physical entity on the second hook. So you may think that when you catch it a certain way that you will fall, but in reality if you just shove your character super hard towards the wall, it'll balance up and get unstuck, kind of like other parts of the game. Top hat jump is the most disgusting piece of gameplay in any game I've ever come across ever in a very long time. I don't even want to waste all of our collective time and well-being ranting about this jump because we'll be significantly more upset after I finish than when we were when I started. I'm not going to say anything negative other than this is the worst jump in the game and it shouldn't exist. Anvil, on the other hand, is a difficult jump with an equivalent payoff and actually pretty fun. It's a hard jump but not too difficult and is mainly based off of the anvil position more than anything else. Using the hammer to pogo off and get up to the ledge is challenging, but becomes intuitive after a few tries. Snowballs are a little scary, particularly because you can't see the second one on top of the first one, but are a super easy section otherwise. Just making sure you use the hammer to hook the snowball on every jump, and you can make it very patiently, like most things in this game. I know, I'm sorry, it's super slow. Bucket is actually super hard, not because of the jump itself, but the physics of the bucket. Super easy to get a bad attachment to the bucket and slip off on your first try, and pogoing up to the bucket can be kind of nuanced. But the momentum swing jump is very easy after a few tries, and the jump after is very similar to Anvil in that the angle on the wood is more important than anything else. It looks threatening, and getting good hooks on Bucket is hard to do consistently early, but the jump itself really isn't that hard. Okay, that is our tentative speedrun of all the menial parts of getting over it. Some of you may be thinking to yourself, well actually Sam, and there's still more parts of the game, so shut up. We're getting there, okay? Good. Now let's talk about Ice Wall. I trust my chat a lot. They've been getting me a lot of good advice in Pogostuck and getting over it, and I'll always take their advice to heart if they tell me what I believe should be true. Until the Ice Wall, where they just told me to windmill and I'd be fine. I was not fine. What do I have to do? Like that, dude! That's what I'm talking about! You guys lied. I shouldn't have listened to you. Slower? I hate you all. Not that fast? Okay, thanks. Speaking of falling, this would probably be a good time to do the thing, so watch me fall, I guess. Oh, that's a... Okay, but that's deceptive as okay. Oh fuck. No! Luckily, I picked up a lot of mechanics and techniques from playing the game up until now. So while I return to Ice Mountain right up here, let's talk about some of the Ice Mountain techniques and mechanics that we need to know. You see, Ice Mountain has a bunch of miniature ledges hidden within the visual elements of the wall. Your goal is to hook those using the hammer, pull yourself up so you're parallel to the hole, and then slowly descend into the hole and position the right half of your pot in the little crevice. Then you go to the next ledge. These ledges vary in distance from one another, so the distance between one ledge and another ledge might not be the same. It's not always a full hammer pull away. Furthermore, there's one specific ledge halfway through the mountain that you can't reach the next ledge from. At this ledge, you need to do a half pogo to get a grip on the wall higher up, then pull yourself into the ledge that you hook. You can also do a reverse pull to do this, but we aren't even supposed to be talking about reverse pulls, so you're not supposed to know about that until this video. So shut up. Ice Mountain becomes very easy when you learn these techniques, but it's extremely hard on your first playthrough, and so I fell a lot trying to do it until eventually we got to the top of Ice Mountain. The end of the game! It's all over! We're almost done! Getting over it's so much easier than Pogostuck, guys. Needed this for my mental. This made me very happy. The only thing that's left is the TV tower, which is very similar to the vertical wall from the beginning and the oranges / castle wall on the side, both like similar in nature of the way that you go about it. Not really hard, just very stressful. The nice thing though is that you can't really fall all the way back down from this section, except in some cases, which I'll explain later. But now it was time for us to defeat the game, and getting over it was finally completed. Yes! Bitch. Oh. Oh my god. One day, getting over it, Pogostuck defeated! What could he not do? Well, it was quite simple. Next was Jump King, so it was time for us to sleep, get a good night's rest, and attempt the very next and last game before speedrunning. So here's the deal. Up until this point, Chad had convinced me that the order of difficulty for the games was Pogostuck was going to be the hardest by far, Jump King would be the second hardest, and then Getting Over It would be the third hardest. And up until this point, I thought that I was going to agree with this, and in retrospect, I do. As a result of this, in the moment, I was convinced that I couldn't spend any longer than a day on Jump King because learning how to speedrun all three of these games could take me up to a week. Luckily for me, Jump King is very mathematical. Unlike Pogostuck and Getting Over It, you can almost jump from identical spots every single time, and there are guaranteed jumps that exist in the game that you will hit no matter what you do because you do the same thing every single time. Furthermore, when you land, you can micro adjust where your character is standing, so you can always jump from the same place every single time if you want to. Because of this, Jump King is much more practice and focus than anything else. The mathematical nature of it makes it particularly easy, or its easiest quality. But ironically, that is also the quality that makes it the hardest because it's a rage game. And so if you lose focus, you tilt, if you're tired, if you're not mechanically there, then you're gonna end up making very simple mistakes that can cost you a lot of time. Alongside this, I really love the visual elements of this game. By far, to me personally, it's the most compelling. I love the 8-bit Knight character, the scenes, the music, everything is super compelling. I love like this 8-bit retro style, and it's honestly just like by far the most captivating game for me visually. Alongside this, I love the sound effects as well, and for a lot of people, sound effects might be tilting, like the leveling up sound in Pogostuck, but then there's also the splat sound in Jump King, splat, that I personally really like. Okay, enough of a game review from IGN Salmon Kid. Let's get into the actual mechanics of the game. I think doing a montage of me entering every new area in Jump King is a little more redundant than that of other games because falling in Jump King is significantly more frequent and the areas blend together very often. The biggest areas to enter in Jump King are the beginning of Stormwall Pass and the beginning of Chapel, so I'll probably put a bigger emphasis on these areas in terms of entering them, but overall we just have a general idea to get through. Sorry, wait, I actually lied. I do think there is one other major jump that's going to be pretty important to address, and that jump is Chimney. Chimney jump has a property to it that makes it very unique from the other jumps in the game. It's a 2-frame jump because the edges of the chimney are slanted so that you can't land on it. So this makes it even harder than, say, like jumps on the tops of flags when you enter the Stormwall Pass, you know, those 3 little flag jumps. It makes it even harder than that. What's even more problematic about this jump is that it's not a full jump, and so getting a touch for the power can be really problematic, but it's such a thin jump and there's not a lot of room for error that there's very little power delineations of the jump that actually get you through Chimney. Actually, let's power rank the hardest jumps of the game for a second. I definitely think Chimney's the hardest, and then there's the jump into Stormwall Pass on the flags. And then I'd say it's a toss-up for a third between the snow jump where you go all the way to the right to get to the next section, and then like the second to last jump of the game, the micro jump, you go on that platform, just based off of like anxiety. Those are probably my 3 hardest jumps in Jump King. A lot of falling occurred during my playthrough of Jump King, but falling in Jump King is not really as tilting as the other games because when you fall, you're not really falling far, and by nature of the game, you can get back to the area that you fell from way faster than other games. Falling 3 to 5 stages in Jump King is kind of like the equivalent of falling from the top of Grapes to the bottom of Grapes, or maybe even the middle of Grapes in Pogostuck. And that's just like, oh, okay, I fell, I'm just gonna go back up. I mean, regardless, falling did still occur. Not a full strength there. But now we move on to where boys become men, where we separate villain from hero, good from bad, and light from dark. The last jump before entering the snowy area is insanely hard and takes a lot of focus and practice. And things like focus and practice are quite hard to come across after playing 5 days consecutively Pogostuck and getting over it. So we messed up this jump quite a bit. That skip is so useful. And this jump is for the Moon Raiders! But eventually, we'd breach into the next level of Jump King. This is a full jump. It's just this next one that's just skill. Oh! Nice! Let's go! Huge. So what gives? What's the big deal? Salmon, you're making this game seem like a cakewalk. Well, there's a couple reasons for this. The first being that I had just played 2 games that were extremely hard for 5 days, and my brain and mind and body were ready for very difficult mechanics and to practice them and learn them. But also, I wasn't playing this game to just beat it for the first time, but also to speedrun it. So I was learning speedrunning mechanics as I played the game for the first time. Because of how mathematical Jump King is, I was learning a lot of guaranteed jumps, which made falling a lot less significant because I'd always get back to where I was going. Speaking of this, allow me to give a massive shout out to Valmerix, the person who used the guide in which I used to learn Jump King for the first time in order to beat the game. I'd really appreciate it if you guys would check out his video after this one and maybe give it a like, as it was instrumental to me learning how to speedrun Jump King. Anyway, the reason I reference this is because specifically in snow, the area is super mathematical. It has very little skill involved, and such it allowed us to burst through this area and get to the end of our very first playthrough of Jump King. Let's enter Chapel. Shut up, Sid. It's laundry time, baby! Let's go! Stop banging the table! Now I want you to listen to me very carefully when I say this, okay? Okay? Are you listening? Are you listening? Okay. You could literally beat all of Chapel with your eyes blindfolded and your hands tied behind your back. Chapel is so goddamn easy. It's almost all guaranteed jump, and there's nearly no skill involved. However, take me to Ice, and we're having a much different conversation. You see, Ice has a lot of very difficult jumps, but it introduces another new mechanic that's very important to learning the game. On the icy terrain, you could do a micro jump which will reset the momentum that you carry as you slide on the ice. For example, let's say you're doing a leftward jump and you land on the ice and you know you're going to slide too far, you can do a right side micro jump and it'll reset all your momentum and it'll make it so you don't go flying off the side. This makes speedrunning the game significantly easier as you don't need to have perfect jumps in ice all of the time. You can have jumps that are okay that will work if you do this little micro reset. Ice also has this area that's called the slide jump where you go onto this big slant and then there's a platform right next to it and you have to get to the platform to the side of that. This is a very hard jump, but I found that the most consistent way to do it was to wait until my character hit right on the crevice between the little slide and the platform and then press space, and I would almost always end up on that next platform. Besides this, all the other jumps after this are guaranteed jumps and we end up in the final section of the game. Final section of the game, guaranteed jumps. What, you think I just beat it for the first time and I didn't fall at all? Just gonna have a difficult time, I think. Really? What was that? That was like the worst attempt I've ever had in my life. I even knew before I threw that shit out. What am I doing? Please stop derping. Come on. Alright, I'm done with all the failing and falling and you're whining and grinding. Shut up. If you guys are concerned about how fast I got to the end of Jump King, it's what most girls criticize me for anyway, so just enjoy my victory, okay? We finally beat Jump King on day 6. The goat is here. The goat is here. Speedrunning now? Oh, you want me to start speedrunning now? I can't go in. I ain't ready.
That's on my blind. I can't go in. I ain't ready. Fetty on fetty on fetty. I can't go in. I ain't ready. Fetty on fetty.
Yo, Fetty.
I just left Houston.
I just left Earth.
Gas in my blunt. Got some hoes who gon'
Biggest fraud check on Low Sniffy in United States history. The Pogostuck was a misplay.
That's 2-1. First completion of every game, that's a pretty good achievement. Most average men would just sit down with their prizes, go take the parade at home, enjoy themselves. This is their victory. They've ended up in a place that they can respect. But not me. I was not done yet. It was time to start speedrunning the God Gamer Gauntlet after another sleep on to day 7. Before we start, please allow Salmon Kid of the Past to explain to you roughly and sleepily what's going to go on for the rest of this video. Now be starting runs. We will now be starting runs. Here's how this is going to work, chat. If you see in the top left, when I change scenes like this, there's a timer. When I press this button, the timer starts. When I press this button, the timer pauses. When I press this button, the timer goes to the next game in tandem with this button and it pauses. When I do that, I'm going to switch games. So let me show you again. Game starts. I beat the game, split it and pause. I start the next game, start, split it and pause. I start the last game, start, split it, and it's done. We will do this over and over and over and over and over again until we have a winning run, which is less than 34 minutes and 21 seconds. Morning, Nick. I have to poop again. Thank you, Salmon Kid. To beat Ludwig, I'd have to get really good at speedrunning these games. And I mean really good. But that's not what this first day was for. Day 7 was strictly just for learning the games, getting accustomed, and trying to put it all together into a speedrun. And after a couple bad attempts, we finally got our very first run. Nice. Okay. Not bad. We can get a sub 130 for sure. Good shot. I'm gonna cover screen because I actually want to see what this is. Okay. 2 hours, 8 minutes. Not bad. Okay. 2 hours. Not bad, right? This is honestly okay. For the first time, I'm fine with this. It's not like I've learned any speedrunning tech. This is literally just my raw ability after beating the games for the first time and then going back and playing them all again after beating them for the first time. So I know that we can get a better time still without doing any extracurricular activities, without doing any extra prep, and so just a little dip of our foot in, a little touch of the water, a little dive in the shallow end, so we could keep going and eventually improving our runs. The problem is that speedrunning the games is a lot more mentally taxing than just playing them by themselves, and it's already hard enough to play Pogostuck over and over and over and over again and get bad runs, but once you get a good run, there's a problem with egg. Egg is where I really reached the first critical part in the speedrun, where I was gonna have to figure out something to do. Egg is unique in Pogostuck in that for a regular run, it's entirely inconsequential since you can't fall, but for a speed run, it can be the most frustrating because of how inconsistent the mechanics are, how frustrating it is to do, and how easy it is to just continually mess it up over and over and over. So what's the first thing people will do when they want to learn a new strat? Well, probably go to like YouTube or Google or something. So let's check out all the eggless guides that there are online. Okay, let's see here. Checking guide, checking, nope, nothing, okay. Okay. Okay, well, it's fine. Maybe let's check Google. I see. Seriously, are those just regular pogo tricks? I realized very quickly there would be no eggless. So I was just gonna have to suck it up and get better. However, with a bunch of more practice, a bunch of more failed runs, we'd eventually get a run that would increase our time and make us better at it. Nice! Okay. Not bad. We can get a sub 130 for sure. Okay. 2 hours, 8 minutes. Not bad. Okay, 30 minutes of improvement. Not bad. I'm not a random loser and I suck at these games. I'm never going to be able to beat the speedrun. It's fine. It's fine. Speedrunning is very hard. So this improvement was fine for one day. Let's pack it up. Let's have a sleep. And let's hit day 8. We're here. There isn't really much to talk about this day because I still wasn't at the point where my run times were good enough to learn new tech. So it was kind of just me practicing more and more, getting more accustomed, doing the games over and over, repetitions, repeat, building up those brain muscles, those hand muscles, the body muscles, getting everything ready for a run that would improve our time. Kind of like this one. Yahoo! Whatever, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. It's not bad. We can get away better getting over it. Let's go! Let's go! Sub 45, baby. Let's get it. Not bad. Honestly, not bad. Honestly, not bad for how much throwing I did. Still sub hour. Still sub hour. Still sub hour. And we know how many mistakes we did. Like, imagine I play that optimally, chat. Imagine I play that optimally. I don't f*** up my egg and pogo, and I play jump well. We can get a sub 45 for sure. That's huge. Nice. New PB. That's huge. That's huge. Can you guys be patient? Please. Damn. Do you know how hard it is to improve at this game? Okay? Or these games, speedrunning the God Gamer Gauntlet? Please, just give me time. Let the kid cook, alright? On to day 9. Let me sleep. Damn. Aha! The patient bird gets the worm. Now we are here. We can talk about run improvement, as a sub-hour run is more than enough to start learning new tech and mechanics. So let's get active. We can't really learn eggless in Pogostuck because it's too hard, and skipping palm tree is too hard and inconsistent as well. And Jump King is kind of just math. There aren't really any skips, and all the skips are way too hard for an early player. And if the game is easy, like you could get a sub 8 being bad at the game, so that just leaves us with... Oh, Getting Over It! Getting Over It kind of tricked me because the game is so easy to play slowly, so I thought that there'd be no reason for me to need to learn tech, but the game is easy, slow, and it makes you get comfortable, but in reality, there are ways to make the game much faster. To get fast at Getting Over It, we turn over to Blastbolt, who has a video on his channel called How to Beat Getting Over It in Under 10 Minutes. This video is amazing, and so is Blastbolt, so please, 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 after this video, make sure to go check him out and support his guide. It's very important, especially if you want to speedrun Getting Over It. Anyway, this video has a lot of unique tech and knowledge, so let's not delay any further and let's start talking. Firstly, slide skip is an essential part of playing Getting Over It fast that is going to very quickly nuke our speedrun time. To do slide skip, you hook onto the top of the roof of the building you transition to after the big ladder at the beginning, and you push your hammer all the way down for a mega pogo, up to the stairs, hooking it with your hammer, then pulling yourself up again. This skip is not only very easy, but is insanely time efficient and makes this section one giant vertical climb rather than a loop around the side. Another thing we learned from this video briefly and expanded upon more in a guide video are negative pulls. A negative pull is when your hammer is in a negative position above your head, and you do a micro movement to jump upwards while readjusting your hammer position. This is extremely useful at the top hat jump, but also has a lot of general applications in runs when you miss swings among other things. However, it's quite hard to do a negative pull on the base settings, and this is where our second to last new Getting Over It tech kicks in. In the settings menu, if you turn off trackpad tuning, mouse acceleration gets turned off, and your ability to move fast goes nuclear. This is some Super Saiyan near-death Zenkai boost. You just killed Android 16 in front of me, and I'm about to fucking unleash this shit on you type boost. Crazy new skill. The game is so much faster. No more grandpa runs. This change makes the mouse way more sensitive, makes movements way faster, and makes chaining movements together like multiple windmills on vertical walls way smoother. Finally, Ice Wall. This section isn't hard with the holes, but earlier I talked about memorizing these locations and becoming fast at getting to them. Alongside this, using a negative pull to get up to that hole where you can't directly pull yourself up to it in the middle part of the mountain is way easier with a negative pull than it is just with a regular pogo. Ultimately, this just came down to practicing the new sense and memorizing the divots in my head so I'd get them every single time. I've unlocked a new level, unleashed a new power, and my time was skyrocketing. Let's go. Good. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Dude, I'm so bad. Why can't I just f***ing perform? Okay, I mean, I'm gonna need a really good Jump King, dude. Yeah, I trolled. I just trolled so hard. I just trolled so hard, dude. Miserable. Really, really miserable from me. I can't do another run today, chat, unfortunately. I just don't have it in me. Disgusting for me. It was f***ing horrid, but it's whatever. It should have been a sub 10, but... Okay! Fuck, dude. Fuck, dude. Oh my god, if I just didn't troll, man. I just... 35-26! That could have been it! But it wasn't. It wasn't good enough to beat Ludwig. It wasn't good enough for the stream. We had to get better at the games. We had to get more consistent, more powerful, more mechanics, and we needed more practice. But we were getting much better. But you thought I didn't fall or rage during these past 4 days? Are you crazy? I'm trolling! What am I doing? This up. No, dude, I should have turned left. What am I doing? No way. No. I had to be so bad. This was the face of a man dejected and broken by the challenges he faced, ruined by the pressure, at a whim to his losses. Okay. But I never surrender, I never quit, I never fail, so it was one more sleep and on to day 10. All of my improvement, all of my energy, all of my might to finally defeat Ludwig at his own challenge in one stream. Could I finally do it? Could I finally beat him and get a better time? Just watch me.
Yeah, you could be the greatest, you could be the best, you could be the King Kong banging on your chest.
I'm literally going to hang myself upside down and cover myself in honey and then drop myself in a bear reservation. I keep trolling. What is that? What is that, bro? Excuse me. Savage. Savage. Chatter, you were savage. Woo! Keep picking it up, Sammy kid. Yeah, keep picking it up. Go. Let's go. Let's go! Let's go! My shadow's over you, cause I am the opposite. I don't think I've ever done that before. Said get over there. All the power, just some of it. Not all the power, just some of it. You can't go 100% power. Dude, if I could just like stop myself from derping out there. Sup then, Pogo baby, let's go! Let's go! Let's go! She only looking for a ride in the weekend. Dreaming of all the things that we could be. Baby, I've been. Oh shit. Oh shit. It's not like predictable. It's so believable. I kinda feel bad for you. You never know what it's like. It's just a game inside your head. I think 'cause you're the realest one. You're such an awesome, but you suck at love. Jesus. It's a chase. And then I tripped and fell in love. No, I'll never ever be the same. Soon as we kissed, girl, you're bad for my health. I need help. Doctor. Back to me when Camille first released learning how to play League, and this was the song in the opening browser. Oh my god, I can't believe I just can't. I don't know. 31:36! Yes! Oh my god. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Oh. Yes! Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Squid! Holy oh my god, let's go! It's over! Oh, it's finally over. Oh my god, it's finally over. Oh my god. there you have it. I beat Ludwig at his own gaming challenge in one stream without ever having played any of the games before. These streams and these videos could not be possible without all your guys' support, so to my community on Twitch and YouTube, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. This video is also an extension and a challenge to Ludwig. I challenge you to beat my time on the God Gamer Gauntlet so you aren't the worst at your own speedrun. Otherwise, I own you.
Also, please let me join off-brand. Please let me join off-brand, please.
Anyway, quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. No one. Me! Please go check out my other video. I beat every single Five Nights at Freddy's game in the hardest difficulty in one stream, and all my other socials. It helps me out a lot, and it helps to support me. And if you enjoy the content that I make and want to see more videos like this in the future, please do that. With that said, we always have to know what's next, and even though I had to reach deep within my soul to beat this challenge, I don't think it got dark enough. Anyway, that's your only teaser for the next challenge for now. Make sure you check out the other YouTube video, check out all my socials, subscribe to me if you haven't already, like the video if you enjoyed it, it helps me out a lot. Thank you guys so much for all the support, I really appreciate it. But for now, deuce. I beat Ludwig at his own gaming challenge in one stream without ever playing any of the games before, 31 minutes and 36 seconds on the God Gamer Challenge. Peace.